Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new camp video. So today we are taking a look at the Earthlight Lounge UFO Prefab. It has been on the Atomic Shop this week, and this thing turns out to be more interesting than I thought it would be. Yeah, this thing is strange, but actually turns out to be a bit cooler than I thought it would be. It's called the Earthlight Lounge. It's basically a UFO-themed kind of cafe-type prefab. At least that's the way it appears to be to me. It's basically a UFO on a stick with a staircase that goes up the middle of the stick, and it's quite cool. So finding a place to put this was a bit of a headache. I'm over by Clarksburg Shooting Club that you see here. You'll see in a bit of detail in a second. I'm actually over behind it. But the idea was to put it kind of close to a road and near to other buildings, because it's the sort of place that's going to be attached to other things and tourist locations and stuff like that because of the style of it, whereas not really a standalone thing. But here we go. So you can see the thing is big and has quite a large concrete base to it, which you'll see in more detail in a second, but it's basically behind the outline of those junk fences there. And I've took it up next to the restaurant shop thing boarded up there. And you can see the toxic lake bed's actually out behind, and there's a diner over there and a few other bits and pieces. And it kind of goes okay in this little spot. It makes a bit more sense as opposed to having it on its own. There's a road nearby and a place to park cars. So it's a pre-war building that's been taken over. It makes more sense in this sort of location. My first thought was I wasn't sure what to do with this. And the entrance to the tower, I suppose, is here at the front, which is rather awkward because there's not a lot of space there. And you're also on the curved front edge, so what to do with that was a bit of a headache, really. In the end, because this thing is a decent size, the actual build part of it is mostly the junk fences, which you can kind of see all the detail in it here. And it was not particularly complex. I've done similar things in plenty of videos, so you can always have a rummage through those if you want to look at the hows and the wherefores and so on and so forth. Basically, I followed the edge of the very large concrete foundation on this thing and fenced it off with whatever I happen to need to use to do the job. And there's an extra foundation here on the side for a sort of entryway as well. Yeah, for this curved front edge, there's not much space here. I would possibly have expanded it using foundations, but it was a lot of effort, and the thing's already big enough and has enough room for everything anyway, so I didn't really need to do that. So I got the barbed wire fences that come from Hunt for the Treasure Hunter and used the individual small pieces to create sort of a curve that went around the front edge. Let's head on through the gate and have a look at this. Lots and lots of detailed decoration on this one. It's that sort of a camp, to say the least. So a little entranceway here has a few bits and pieces out to sort of dress it up and to give us a bit more of an interesting way in and to free up space for putting everything else in. I've sunk the decon arch here down into the ground using the merge glitch. I basically just put it on that rug there and just merge glitch it down. I'll link how to do that somewhere around if you want to have a look. But I carefully positioned the rug so that it looked like somebody should put a doormat here for people to wipe their feet on, rather than having it looking out of place. And yeah, the upshot is it sinks nicely into the foundations and looks a bit better, as long as you don't overdo it. Yeah, down here, in and around the big legs of the at the back of the prefab here, it kind of creates for an interesting semi-industrial kind of crafting space out here. And obviously, I put this out here because the space upstairs is a bit weird. We'll have a look at that in a moment. But out here, it works well with the big girder-type legs to make this kind of an industrial crafting area. It kind of goes together quite nicely. Excuse the lurky. He decided to basically spawn in the middle of my camp. It's one of the drawbacks to this spot. There's a lot of Mirelurks around. But given how often they've been coming up on the scoreboard lately, then or the challenges rather, that's probably not such a bad thing, really. Lots of bits of decoration around the various workbenches. And I've kind of spread them around the space a little bit, which works okay. Things doubled up to each other to make them more interesting shape and have them stick out a bit. The weapons bench here just drops quite nicely in there and actually sits on the lower level of the floor rather than this sort of curved upper area. It means your feet sink into the floor a bit when you're using it, but it also tucks back a bit more easily. You can really see what I've done with the barbed wire fences there, and I've added extra texture and signs and stuff just to make them a bit more solid, a bit more effective as defences, and just make them a lot more interesting to look at. You can see how narrow the gap is back here, so I've added bits of decoration and stuff, but I didn't want to obstruct the walkway, so I've got the space to move around here. Whole bunch of extra bits and pieces down here, because I really wasn't sure what to put at the bottom of the cage, so I just kind of put stuff to kind of dress it up, stuff that's kind of built up over time vibe. It looks alright. Quite a cool staircase, this. Bit awkward to go up and down. Occasionally you will find that you fall off it quite easily. But other than that, I think it would be great to have this as placeable on its own for regular builds. If we could get the one that was the right height and stuff, it'd be really, really cool. But who knows, they're starting to put more and more spiral staircases into prefabs. Hopefully one day we'll see them come in for general use in 76. That should be very, very nice. So here we go, up at the top. This kind of harks back to the Flying Fortress in its interior, in that it's got rounded edges that are basically chain link fenced off. This thing is not quite a circle, these edges are sections of flat edge, which makes it a lot easier to decorate them. And as you can see, the walls are quite easy to decorate. And there's more space up here than it actually appeared to be in the first place, so quite happy with that on the whole. Could have put my crafting stuff up here, but I thought it made a better sort of living space really rather than anything else. So we've got a compact little kitchen in there with the essentials tucked in, and a whole bunch of extra decor as well around just to dress it up, make it a bit more interesting. Quite happy with that. Everything you need there. So for a little weapons display here. I was quite surprised this curtain actually went on the wall and was willing to go as high as it did. That made for a nice little frame to the weapons rack there, which I'm quite happy with that. A load of movie stuff to just sort of dress up around the pool table here. It takes me ages to find that pool table in the menu. Couldn't tell you off the top of my head now where it was, and I only put it down yesterday. But nightmare to find, but still quite cool. It's a Fallout First item from a while ago, that one, so can be interacted with. So in between each area, I've got a little bit of decoration and display cabinets and stuff, but then I've used the rugs to kind of mark out specific functional areas, kind of. So I've got the bedroom and the sitting room over here, and then effectively done the same thing with the pool table, even though the rug is part of the pool table and sort of marks out the limits of the animation and stuff. Went for a TV rather than a radio for this sort of sitting area, even though there's obviously nothing on, but, you know, when is there ever? But I generally don't do it because there's never going to be anything on whatsoever, and there'd be no point in having a TV in a post-apocalyptic camp. So, plus they put out quite a lot of light. But I thought it'd be nice to make a change and do it this time, so I kind of did. Plus, because of the circular shape of the place, needed something to kind of mark out the area a little bit more, and it works quite well for that. Yeah, all in all, this is a pretty cool prefab. My one major objection to it, and this I was kind of aware of when I picked it up, is that other than what I've kind of done with it, I'm not sure what else I could do. It's very much a standalone set piece sort of thing, and you can put it in a larger camp, and it only takes up maybe sort of physical size-wise a third or so, maybe a half of the space. But once you've decorated it up properly and stuff like that, that's more than half of your budget gone, 2/3 maybe. And it's always going to dominate the camp so much that it's always going to be about this prefab. No matter what else you put in there, it's still about the big-ass UFO in the middle of your camp. So it kind of limits you in doing anything else other than making a camp about this, which is kind of fine. It's true of other prefabs as well, but at the same time, it kind of ties your hands a little bit, I feel. On the other hand, it is pretty interesting. It's pretty unique and fun, and it came out better than I was expecting it to. I really wasn't sure what I was going to do with this, how I was going to develop it, and in a sense, just fencing off the bottom of it is not the most creatively out there idea ever, but it worked. It's got the right kind of somewhat lore-friendly vibe. It's reasonably well defended, and really kind of gets that post-apocalyptic, weird Fallout vibe going quite well. So, all in all, I'm fairly pleased with how it came out, and it's quite a novel thing, this, even if I'm going to struggle to find an occasion to use it again. But there we go. Hope you guys found this useful, informative, interesting, enjoyed the build, and liked having a little look around this. If you did, please do consider dropping subs and likes. I very, very, very much appreciate it. Social media links, merch store, channel memberships, all those other things down below. Notification bell if you want to support the channel in that way. Keep up with what I'm doing. Do check that out. I very much appreciate. And yeah, if you get a chance to join us for live streams as well, we're of course playing Fallout 76. We're working on Wolfenstein, and we have Starfield oh so close. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.